Namaste, beloved. How are you? My name is Syma, and I am a sacred feminine and spiritual coach and healer, and the best-selling author of the books Goddess Reclaimed and Manifest Soulmate Love. And it is my sacred joy to share with you today some tips and tools and hopefully helpful insights that can support you in healing the wound of rejection. The rejection wound is so deep. I remember once reading an article where some psychologists had done a survey, and their findings showed that of all the different kinds of pain we can experience, the pain around rejection, people reported, was deeper and more difficult to bear than even the pain of grief. So I personally have experienced every form of rejection. So I really come from a place of experience when I share this with you. And before I learned to cultivate an empowered spiritual relationship with myself, right, where I could really focus on my self-love and that connection with the divine within, it was really devastating to experience any form of rejection, whether it was romantic or professional or in friendships or colleagues. So I really know how difficult and painful this can be. And from my position that I share everything from, it's a goddess and spiritual perspective. So I really hope you'll be open to receiving this kind of support on your path. I will be sharing specifically 5 goddess archetypes that you can invoke, cultivate, work with, however you feel comfortable, whether you're, woman, man, female, male, identified, trans, it doesn't matter, because we all have the divine feminine and masculine within us. And how I share these is in a way that supports you. So when I talk about the goddesses, you can think of them as psychological sacred feminine archetypes. You can think of them as Shakti, or energy that you have that you can cultivate within yourself. You can think of them as actual divine deities and feminine goddesses, the feminine aspect of the divine. So I write in my book, Goddess Reclaimed, the many different ways that you can work with goddesses, and it doesn't matter what your spiritual orientation is or, what your sex or gender is. I really hope that this will serve you, because I have found so much healing and empowerment, specifically around healing the rejection wound, by cultivating a beautiful goddess and feminine approach to healing my relationship with myself, my love. So the first thing I want to share is, when we are rejected and that pain comes up, and the reason it can be so painful is because I feel, and I have found personally in my life, in my coaching practice, working with women all over the world, from so many different cultures and backgrounds and upbringings, whether they have loving childhoods and really happy ones, or whether they also, like myself, experienced abuse or trauma, is when we experience rejection, what it does is it triggers, I think, our universal human wound or fear, which is that I'm not enough. Someone else's rejection of us is so painful, because I feel all of us deep down have this fear, if we haven't become conscious of this and worked on it, that I'm not enough, or I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough. And it doesn't matter how accomplished we might be in our lives. In fact, some studies have shown that imposter syndrome, which is when you sort of feel like a fake, is so reported really high amongst people with multiple PhDs, right? So we kind of have this condition as being humans, even though we are divine and we might know that intellectually, because of our life experiences and just being people in the world, being human, we have this deep fear that I'm not enough. So when someone rejects us, it opens that wound wide open of I'm not enough. And that's why it's so important to see the experience of rejection, as painful as it can be, as an opportunity to heal that. And for me, it's any painful experience we go through always brings us an opportunity for healing and spiritual growth. And the goddess that I want to share on that first step of your path is Mother Mary, because I feel, again, in my personal healing journey and helping my clients, that if we trace back the first initial experience of rejection, most of us can trace it back to our childhood. And for many of us, this usually has to do with experiencing rejection from a mother or father, or mother-father figure, or parent, or, that first authority figure in our life, the first caretaker or guardian, or their absence in our life, right? And so my first guidance for you, my love, is to see it as an opportunity for personal healing and trace back the root of the first time you felt rejected. And I'm not going to assume, but I can share again from my professional and personal experience, it's usually rooted down to very early childhood. And to heal that, focus on perhaps some inner child healing work. I have a free meditation on my YouTube channel that's inner child healing. And then with my clients, I go much deeper. So if you feel like that's something you want to start with, please begin with healing the inner child so that you can give that child the love, the attention, the appreciation, the approval, the validation, the affection, all those very natural and basic human needs that we have, that if we don't have them met from our parents or when we're children, it's almost like we go around the rest of our life looking for that. And we attract in people, relationships, experiences that tend to mirror our early childhood experiences in order for us to heal that initial wound. So inner child healing can be so helpful. And I find working with Mother Mary, you can use that again archetypally as mothering yourself, or you can work with her in meditation to soothe and love unconditionally that inner child inside of yourself. So that's my first guidance, my love. Then the second tip that I have for you is to practice radical self-acceptance. When we experience rejection, another way that we can use that to heal ourselves and to grow spiritually is to reflect and see what part of myself have I been rejecting? Where have I not been accepting a certain part of myself? Sometimes in my Manifesto Might Love coaching program, we go through this one exercise at one point, and I asked my clients, if you got everything you wanted from your soulmate relationship, we just keep breaking it down to the feelings that they would have until they get to a core feeling that they're longing for. And so often that feeling ultimately has been self-acceptance, or someone who accepts me unconditionally is what my clients have been looking for. And of course, we all want that. We all want unconditional acceptance, right? Because that is our divine nature from God, Goddess, Creator, however you connect with the divine. We are unconditionally accepted. And when we experience rejection, it's such a lie, right? It's so contrary to our spiritual truth that gap and that disconnect feels so jarring and painful. And so the goddess that can really support us with practicing that unconditional self-acceptance, I'm just going to try to find her picture for you from my book, is Kuan Yin. So Kuan Yin is a Buddhist goddess of unconditional compassion and grace and mercy. She helps with forgiveness, forgiving yourself, forgiving others, forgiving those who have rejected you, forgiving your parents. So Kuan Yin is the own divine aspect or quality you have that you can cultivate in your heart through the practice of loving kindness meditation. So another meditation I have on my YouTube channel is the Infinite Love Meditation. I believe that's what it's called. And I have self-love meditations and a lot of other videos related to this specific area around self-love and acceptance. So I hope you'll look at those as more tools to support you on this path of loving and accepting that part of yourself that you feel has been rejected. Because oftentimes with people that are rejecting us, I believe everyone is a spiritual teacher in our life, and those who cause us pain are greater spiritual teachers. So if we look at them as a mirror, what are they reflecting back to us in terms of the part of ourselves or the part of myself that I maybe am not accepting and am rejecting? And then that's just being reflected to me in another person. So we want to then, instead of blaming them or being upset with them or taking it personally and, internalizing it and telling ourselves that false story, that lie that I'm not enough, instead take it to mean, where have I been, not as compassionate and loving and kind and accepting of myself, that I need to hone and give myself this gift that perhaps I was looking for from someone else. So that's my second goddess for you, my love. The third goddess that I would love to share with you that can support you in healing from rejection is Mary Magdalene. We just did a beautiful online goddess circle with her yesterday. I host these online every month. You can look into them if you're interested at flourishinggoddessschool.com. We have so many now that we've completed that you can watch. But the Mary Magdalene one, even though we focus on many things, one of them was healing, just the shame that comes from being rejected. And as we know, Mary Magdalene, for centuries was basically not only rejected, but, scorned and degraded by the church as a prostitute. And that's not what we've learned she was about. And those of us who, are following the goddess path, we know that she was in fact, sacred, a divine priestess, so powerful, and essentially the goddess, Mother Mary is the mother archetype, and Mary being that maiden and priestess and lover archetype. But unfortunately, that's not the respect that she was given, right? So especially those as women, we have collectively inherited this deep, deep wound of the rejection of our feminine, right? Everything that our sexuality, our bodies, our gifts, our intuition, our feminine power. And so sometimes I feel like as women, we just take that rejection so personally, especially if we experience it, well, in any form that we experience it, but like in my life, as a woman, it could be with female coworkers who, left me out or gossiped or would spread false rumors that was so painful. So when, like Mary Magdalene, if you experience being ostracized or gossiped about or judged or disowned, it can be just so painful because you feel like, what did I do? And it's almost, you feel like you're being persecuted. So that kind of rejection is so painful and very harmful, right? And again, collectively, we've experienced it so much as women in so many lifetimes and through so many centuries with witch hunts and witch burnings. And I just feel we have so much healing to do around this. So another resource I can point you to is my Divine Feminine Power free goddess meditation on YouTube as well, that I hope will really help you to feel empowered so that you know that no matter what other people's judgments are, that their judgments reflect them, right? So those who rejected and degraded Mary, it could have been coming from a place of fear of the feminine or being threatened by feminine power, being jealous of how she was the beloved and the apostle to the apostles appointed by Jesus Christ. And again, when it comes to our own selves, sometimes, whenever someone is rejecting you through gossip or, ostracizing you or degrading you, it's a reflection on who they are. It has nothing to do with you, my love. So please remember that. And knowing that, bless them where they are and come back to you. As Magdalene did, focus on the rose inside of your heart, that rose in the heart of connecting with the beloved, right? And the beloved is the divine, your direct connection to your own divinity. And when you come back to that, it just has the power, the light of connecting with divine love in your heart, as Magdalene does. It has the power to transmute all that pain, that toxic pain that comes from rejection from others. And it also really just lifts you up and rises you above and beyond. So it's like you transcend it. So people might still act that way around you or, behave that way towards you, but you sort of just float on, like a lotus flower above it, right? And you can bless them where they are, but focus on your path, on being true to yourself and being fully who you are and remembering who you are, right? That you are an extension and an expression of the divine, and bless others, but be your full and true self. Because when you are being your full and true self, that is how you will call in your people. Oftentimes, my clients, when I work with them, they'll say if they found me through one of my videos or something that I've shared, they'll talk about how they really resonated with my energy or my style or my story. And I'm always just being myself. Now, I've done a lot of trainings, professional trainings and marketing on how you're supposed to present and speak. And if something feels aligned with how I am, I'll follow it. And if something doesn't, then I won't. Because I know that if I'm not being myself, I'm going to not attract the right kind of people. And only in being myself, when my clients come to me, we feel such a resonance that we could be BFFs. I would love to be friends with all my clients. That's how much we click and resonate, right? So if you're watching this video, we're each other's people. And you want to remember that you're not for everyone, because sometimes on my videos, I've had comments of people totally rejecting me, calling me everything from a witch to a whore, telling me I'm going to go to hell, or just not liking my content. And that's okay, because I have learned to love and accept myself. And like Mary Magdalene, if I'm facing that kind of condemnation or judgment, I just know that you're not for me and I'm not for you. I'm not for everyone, and that's okay, right? I'm not for you, but that is not going to keep me from serving those who I am for and who are for me, which is us, right? So remember that, my love. Be yourself so you can attract your tribe, your people, and, those who are judging, bless them, but release them, and, do you and accept you and be you. Okay, so to that end, the next goddess I want to share with you is Kali. Kali is the Indian Hindu badass warrior goddess. So powerful, so empowering when you work with her. So here's her image, her artwork from my book. And this is about resisting that initial reaction or instinct, urge, impulse you might have when someone rejects you, to immediately try to prove them wrong by, changing who you are or accommodating them and winning and earning back their approval or their validation. It's just such a, temptation that when someone rejects us, like, no, but look at this, or I can do this, or I can be that. And we can do this in romantic relationships or professionally with your boss. And again, I think this is why I talked about healing the inner child first, because oftentimes that does trace back to childhood, where if we somehow learned the false notion that I'm not enough because of how our parents treated us, we may have tried to prove ourselves and accommodate them to be good enough, to earn their love and approval and attention and affection and validation. So please resist that urge and come back to that warrior goddess inside of you, who is a badass, who will help you to stay in your power, stand your ground, and not need others' approval or validation, and be perfectly okay with their rejection, because you know who you are. You are, again, an expression, a manifestation, an embodiment of the divine creator. And you love and accept you as you are, so others can be as they are. And one specific tool that's really helpful for that is cutting the cord with those who might be draining you of your energy or your self-esteem, or, that immediate pain that can come from it. Just cutting that cord and coming back to yourself, and then reignite your self-empowerment. So I believe I do have videos on self-empowerment, but meditations and self-worth. There's a video on that. So I hope those tools will support you. But come back to your power, goddess. Or God, sister, brother. Okay, my love. So I need to take a sip of water here. All right, I've made some notes here, which I keep looking at. So my final goddess for you is Aphrodite. I love Aphrodite because I am a Taurus, so she is my goddess. And Aphrodite is the goddess of love and divine love. We know her more to be, a goddess of romantic love, and sacred sexuality and pleasure. But Aphrodite is first and foremost a goddess of self-love. And as a goddess of self-love, when you're feeling rejected, just after you do some of the other practices or before, whenever you feel like it, my love, come back and nurture yourself. Just tend to yourself, nurture yourself, and practice sacred self-care. The worst thing we can do when we feel rejected is then be even worse to ourselves, become self-abusive, bully ourselves and criticize ourselves and tell ourselves really negating and disempowering and unloving story to ourselves. So awaken the Aphrodite, who is the goddess of love, or the source of infinite love and self-acceptance and beauty, self-worth inside of you. And so again, to that end, just also being with people who value you and who respect you and who love you and accept you as you are, where you can show up and just be yourself. And if you don't have that right now, I promise you, by practicing these things I've shared, you will call them in, and you will also learn to set some boundaries around people who are not for you. And again, boundary setting is awesome. That's something the goddess Kali, the warrioress, can really, really help you with, is to stand your ground and set some boundaries around people who, are rejecting you or, not giving you the treatment that you deserve, right? So you take back your power, and then you just really nurture yourself with Aphrodite, so that not only do you not feel rejected and all the yuckiness that can come from that and the pain, but you feel filled and overflowing with self-love through practicing self-care and just really putting self-love in action. One thing that I love hearing from my readers of my book, Manifest Soulmate Love, because really secretly it's a book on mastering self-love. Okay. And through that, all the readers, many of them they told me, manifested their beloved soulmates. So when you practice self-love and master it, and I almost think that wound or experience of rejection, one of its spiritual lessons and opportunities for us is to master self-love. And I also believe that, when we come into any lifetime, our soul has certain intentions of the lessons it wants to learn. So it will actually come into spiritual agreements with the parents, the culture, the time, the age, everything that we will incarnate into, so that it can really support our soul intentions for the lessons we want to learn. And if rejection is something that you've experienced a lot in your life, then perhaps one of the soul lessons that you really were sure to learn was mastering self-love or self-empowerment or self-acceptance or self-worth and self-valuing, so that you would never need that from anything or anyone outside of yourself. And by virtue of cultivating that inside of yourself, you would actually end up receiving it back, having it mirrored back to you in so many beautiful ways. So those are my goddesses and my tips for you to support you with healing rejection. And I would love to hear in the comments, how this has served you, how you're going to apply it, what really spoke to you, what if you had an aha moment, and let me know, my loves, when you apply them, how it supports you. Other ways that I would love to support you is to come on over to my website, flourishinggoddess.com. When you sign up to my newsletter, I have a beautiful 14 goddess guided meditation where I take you through all your chakras, and you really just take care of so much self-love, self-empowerment, self-acceptance, self-worth, opening to abundance and beauty and regal power, love, of course. And yeah, so that's if you sign up to my newsletter. Plus I've created a beautiful 3-part goddess video training. If you're new to the goddess path, or you want to learn more about it, or you want to deepen, that just comes automatically when you sign up to the newsletter. So that's at flourishinggoddess.com. If you love reading, you can of course get my book, Goddess Reclaimed, and I'll leave a special link for you where when you go through my website, and you come back after you buy the book and put your receipt in, to this little form, there's some special gifts that I love to shower you with, a goddess circle and a free guided meditation that's in the book, but it's in audio form. So those are just my invitations for right now. And I hope that this has served you. Thank you so much for, just being part of my tribe and letting me support you. And I look so forward to hearing from you how these practices, these teachings and insights have supported you. And I'm just so grateful for you. So my loves, thank you again. I'm sending you so much love. Know that you are worthy of infinite love and acceptance because it's who you are, right? You are from all of heaven, the entire universe created with unconditional love, and your worth is never even a factor because it's just inherent, it's given. So I hope that these practices will help you go from maybe even knowing that intellectually to really embodying it, right? And healing and clearing any blocks that you've experienced around that love so you can, transcend any patterns of rejection, and you no longer need to call those experiences into your life, and you can be just this beautiful, happy, whole, empowered being that practices and exudes self-acceptance and inspires others around you to love and accept themselves too. That's my mission. I want all of us to love ourselves and to be shining examples of self and divine love and just spread the love and light in the world. Okay, my darlings, thank you so much for joining me. I'm sending you so much love. Until next time, namaste.